Andrew Vickers here, statistician, back out on the streets of Brooklyn. In fact, we're not far from where my kids go to school. And that's sort of appropriate because we're going to be discussing something very basic about the scientific method. In fact, it's so basic that many scientists and others who deal with statistics have entirely forgotten about it. So just remember this: introduction, hypothesis, methods, results, and conclusion. Now, this guy here, we met him on the street. He was off to get some toiletries. What, like elderflower water for your face?
No, actually.
All right, well, either way, he doesn't want to pay over the odds for his toiletries. So to get him the cheapest deal, we're going to do a scientific experiment. And of course, we start with the introduction. Introduction. This guy here wants reasonably priced toiletries. All very important, but if we want to do a scientific experiment, we need not just some kind of general aim, but a very specific hypothesis.
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis. Toiletries are no more expensive at the local pharmacy just down the block than at the big national chain pharmacy at the mall. Now, the nice thing about a good hypothesis is that it instantly suggests a set of scientific methods.
Methods.
Methods. Go get a similar bunch of toiletries at each store and compare the cost. And just as the methods followed quite naturally from the hypothesis, from the methods followed quite naturally the results.
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 Total cost at the big chain was $84.57. At the local store was $84.67.
Wow, this is a really hardcore scientific experiment. All right, conclusions. And conclusion. So what are we going to conclude from our study?
A bunch of toiletries will cost you 10 cents more at the local store.
No, that is not the conclusion. That's just the result. But don't feel bad about it because scientists do this the whole time. They mix up the result and the conclusion. Now, just as an example, I've got written down here some conclusions from well-known scientific studies. So here's one. There is a statistically significant increase in reoffending rates in adolescent offenders subject to prison tours. That's not a conclusion, that's just the results. The conclusion would be something like, don't think you can scare kids straight by taking them on prison tours. Now, here's another one. High-dose chemotherapy was associated with more side effects, but did not improve cancer survival compared to standard dose chemotherapy. In other words, don't use high-dose chemo. The point is, we don't analyze data just for the sake of it. We analyze data because we want to learn from it or help us make some kind of useful decision. And to do that, we don't just numbly repeat the results. We've got to do some intellectual work to come to some kind of conclusion. Now, I think what's behind this is that some scientists don't want to say anything substantive because they don't want to be proved wrong. You can't be proved wrong if you don't say anything. Now, one way of avoiding saying anything comes back to breakfast cereal. A couple of years ago, I was pouring breakfast cereal for my son, and I read on the side of the packet that this cereal may help lower your cholesterol. And of course, I thought, well, yeah, right. I mean, it's not as if the cereal has been proven not to lower your cholesterol. So anyway, I went to work, I read a scientific paper, and the conclusion of this paper was that radiotherapy may help cancer control. I thought, well, yeah, of course it may help. That's why we did the study in the first place. The thing about the word may is that it absolves you from any responsibility whatsoever. For example, I might sell you some snake oil and say, hey, this may dramatically increase muscle strength and ward off colds. And then, a few weeks later, you're still a 90-pound weakling and you're sick in bed with a fever. And I'll say, well, I never said it would improve your muscle strength. I just said it may. All right, so please, if you're doing a study, say something, anything, draw a conclusion, and don't say may or might or should or...
Good. I think we may have to do that over for the airplane. So,
No, not may, please.